Alright guys, that's Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Rostermania is back underway in the CDL as of last night, with Lunas, one of the top AR prospects in Challenger, supposedly getting picked up to the league. There were initially some speculations as to whether this was actually going to be for OpTic. Turns out it does not seem that is the case, but there have been some rumours even last night from Enable that maybe these OpTic guys do not want to play with each other as they previously did. Is this baseless speculation? Is there some evidence of this looking at some of the cameras in their matches in recent times? Is it over for this OpTic team before they've even had the chance to improve? Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. We're going to begin here because, as Zuma said yesterday, Rostermania is not done yet. And I thought this is a pretty funny reply because Kosho says, Nastie out, Lunas in, which, let's be real, wouldn't make that much sense when they've just had a great weekend with Nastie. He literally had a 1.4 against FaZe. So they're going to be dropping him after going 2-0 the weekends. But Zuma says close. So, okay, what does close mean? It's not going to be Nastie or Surge, realistically, so the only way that this can be close or partially right is the Lunas angle, and, well, turns out that is likely the case. Parasite with a very cryptic tweet here, I don't know what he's talking about here, of course he puts the moon up, Luna, whatever. I think we got the picture from this. So, then there was talk, because if you look through all of the players on the Gentlemates, 3 of them have the affiliate badge. Now, we talked about this with Pred and with some others over the last couple of years. When the affiliate badge is gone, does it mean that, you know, they're cooked, right? Basically, they're out of the team. To some degree, probably yes, but still, there was some speculation as to whether Priestahh had ever had it. My I don't know, my feeling is that he never has had it. I don't know why he never had it. JKL said the same thing. Actually, I think Gersh went back and looked at one of my old videos from like a while ago now, and it didn't seem like it was there. So I think he's never had it. So I don't think there's necessarily anything in this to say, oh, he's gone for sure. I don't know why he never had it in the first place, I guess is the question. But regardless of whether he had it or not, he is getting dropped for Lunas. That is the feeling anyway. So JKL says, heard that Lunas may be heading to Los Angeles, Gulla's mate. Not confirmed yet. Couple of sources have said it. And then there were questions, who's going to get dropped from the team? Now, look, Lunas coming in shouldn't be a massive surprise. Surge just had a great weekend where they brought Neptune in. He cooked. They beat FaZe and Cloud9 to start 2-0 for the stage. Lunas, from an AR side, was doing similar things to what Neptune was doing. And Lunas has been considered now for a bit of time, kind of like next up. I think he was nearly in the league last year. There was talk that Minnesota Rocker were going to have a rebuild and maybe get him in. I think he was even linked to other teams as well. So I'm kind of surprised if you'd have told me at the start of last year that Luna's first opportunity in the league would come a year and a bit from now, I'd have said I thought he would have got a chance sooner. But it does seem like the opportunity is going to arrive now. He's looking good to make that happen. And I'm a little bit confused on the timing, I guess, is one thing to note here as well, because Gorillas, Gentlemates, they had a pretty stinky stage 1. They went to the major, and yes, they played OpTic in the first round of losers at the major, and they lost to OpTic. But it's not like that was a good OpTic, right? Like, that OpTic team went on to got knocked out in the next round by Ravens, right? So, you know, they got knocked out top 8. It's not like Gorillas started in losers, lost to FaZe round 1, and then were like, okay, FaZe won the tourney, fair enough. You know, OpTic were not great that event, and they still got beat. So I thought after the major they would have done something. They didn't. They decided to wait 2 weeks, play 1 game this past weekend, lose a Game 5 to Boston. I mean, they can't stop losing Game 5s, and then make the change. I'm just not sure it's the best call because, well, I think doing it is the right decision. I think doing it now, you know, you've wasted 2 weeks of potential practice with Lunas you could have had. You've wasted the opportunity to see, you know, how the team meshes and all these other things, right? They could have had the time. They didn't. They had a couple of weeks of practice after the major with Priestahh still there, and now they've decided to get rid of him. But, look, is this the right call? Kismet shouldn't be going anywhere, and, you know, he's been their best player, probably. Lynz has been pretty good as well, and he's French. He ain't going anywhere either. I think you could argue either Skyz or Priestahh should have gone. Some people are even saying get rid of both of them, bring in a couple of other players, maybe change the roles around a bit if necessary. You know, obviously Hook could be an option, right? People are saying, bring Hook in, put, like, I don't know, Lynz or Kiz to the flex and have Lunas on. I mean, maybe. Is Kiz enough to provide the leadership in that situation? Possibly. You know, it's something to think about, right? Because I think Gentlemates, they're pulling the trigger now. It's a good time because other teams are not doing it. They could miss the boat on some good options here, such as, obviously, Lunas, and Hook is another one as well. But Priestahh out of the team is, unfortunately, I felt like somewhat inevitable. He wasn't horrific lately, but he didn't start the season very well. Skyz keeping his spot is interesting to me. I mean, look, I think it makes sense, but it's not like Skyz has been good either. He's not been especially impactful either. And Priestahh, look, his search has been really bad, and it has been the game 5s where they've been struggling most. So I do understand it, and, you know, if I was in the call to make the decision, right, and I had to choose who's getting dropped for Lunas, I probably would have said, you know, goodbye to Priestahh or put him to the bench for the time being. But I think you could argue that Skyz, I mean, neither of them have been great, have they, really? If you look at the team here overall, if we look at Skyz's numbers, okay, he's sitting at a 0.98, a 1 in search. Maybe that's what it came down to at the end of the day. And he's not been playing like that slow. And if you look at their most recent series against Boston, he had a 0.98, Priestahh had a 0.95. They were pretty similar, to be fair. But again, it was the game 5s and the game 2s that really let them down in the search and destroy. And I guess Skyz's map went 8 in 5. So I don't know. It's obviously it's a grand scheme of things, right? It's not just one individual matchup. But Luna's coming in, I think, is exciting. There aren't too many players out there, I would say, right now that are really showing a great deal of promise outside of the CDL and challenges. Lunas is certainly one of them. So if he can deliver, I think Gentlemates are probably making a good call at the right time. But I think for Priestahh, the unfortunate reality is the way that things have gone for him over the last couple of years. Obviously, Boston was not good last year. Got the chance again this year because Skyz and Kiz said, hey, Preston, you want to come back after we dropped you after winning champs together a couple of years ago? Sure. And now they've dropped him again. So, you know, when that happens, it may be over for Priestahh. He could probably drop down to challenges and play for a bit down there. Does he want to? You know, it's a question mark, I think. So I'm not sure where Priestahh goes next is the bottom line on this. Now, let's talk about OpTic, because obviously lots still going on over there. And Shotzzy finally last night turned the stream on for the first time in a very long time. I mean, it's obviously people are roasting them, right? Because Shotzzy was given it large back in December and early January about the importance of content, streaming, everything, obviously practice, but also everything else, helping the community and all this. Now, OpTic are struggling, and those streams have definitely dialed off. And I don't think it's to their, you know, I think this is probably a good decision, really, by OpTic to make sure that everything that's happening with the team is kept behind the scenes. Like, with the way that they're struggling, there's no way they're going to be streaming scrims, because it's much more fun to stream scrims when you're going to win. And, you know, if Kenny has a bad map in scrims, everyone's going to be talking about it again. And that fuels the fire. So I think understandably they're going to calm it down a little bit. I thought this was nice to see as well, those Shotzzy and Pred, you know, living it up together, right? These guys are boys. They're having a good time. It's nice to see them enjoying themselves back together. I know that people are going to look at this and say, where's Kenny? Where's Brandon, right? Like, why are they not enjoying themselves as a team? Obviously, people are going to say those things. But Dashy, he isn't there. I think Shotzzy said on stream that he's had a root canal, and he's kind of suffering with that, so he's not been feeling great over the last couple of days. Shotzzy said that hopefully by today, the Tuesday, he's well enough again to get back into scrims. So, you know, with any luck, it won't affect OpTic further, because if there's anything that OpTic do not need right now, it's further issues with their practice, because they have a lot to practice. They've got a lot to consider. I mentioned it over the last couple of days that I think if OpTic really want to turn this around, they've got to think about, okay, what do we actually do to turn this around? It's not like, oh, let's just give it more time and hope that we fix our issues. You know, there's got to be steps in play here. There's got to be, okay, we're going to try this, we're going to try that. And we'll talk about what Octane thinks Kenny should try later today in order to turn this around. But the big question to me was around what Enable had to say around the vibes of the team. I think it definitely felt to basically anyone watching OpTic this past weekend, and even still true in the game against Rocker, but certainly against FaZe, that the cameras, the energy didn't seem like where, you know, they might hope it to be. I think even Scump said this on stream as well, that the vibes against FaZe didn't look right. There wasn't as much energy in the room as they were expecting for a series of that magnitude. Now, Trey, on the show last night, the Dope Check show we did, said exactly the same thing as Enable said before he saw the clip of Enable. So I think it's worth keeping in mind that, you know, two former pros, they obviously having been in those environments themselves, in teams that are not getting along so well, and some of these other factors, they watch the player cams, they watch the series, and they got the same vibe from what's going on OpTic. Is it fair? Is it not fair? You know, I'll leave that for you guys to decide.
Dude, when we get a listen-in today, I want us to be, like, loud and fun and confident. Like, yesterday, during the listen-in versus FaZe, that didn't sound like we were playing FaZe. Like, it was just like a regular, I wouldn't say going through the motions, but I don't think it sounded like it needed to sound, especially versus a team like FaZe.
Even the player cams.
I hope today is a lot different.
Yeah, even the player cams, the vibes just didn't look right. It looked like there wasn't much energy in the room, and I was kind of expecting the exact opposite with aG coming back in the roster, because everyone knows him to bring that hype, and everyone talks about how he hypes Shotzzy up and brings that energy. But yesterday, it just didn't look like it was really there. And I was a little surprised by that, again, because going up against FaZe, that's usually one of those series where you come into and you're absolutely dialed for it. So, like Zinni said, the comms were a little bit low energy, and also the player cams, the body language. I don't know, it just looked like the boys were, a little funk yesterday, perhaps.
Because if there's, you know what I mean, an issue where it's like, yo, no, you're brain dead, bro. What are you hitting this route? You're spawning them here repeatedly. You don't know shit about shit. That's something that you can go over and film, and actually have a solution. If it's like we don't want to play, like, I'm not saying it is, that's what it looks like. But if it's like vibes are off, there's shit going wrong, I don't know how players feel about each other, that's not as easy, that's not as fixable as the former. But if you can just kind of swallow your pride, swallow your ego, right? If there is some beef there, something that is causing this fucking disconnect, then it would be a quick turnaround. The issue is, bro, at least in my eyes, this isn't we suck dick, we don't know what we're doing, let's get in the lab and work OT, this is us, bro, let's act as one. The vibes that I get is they don't want to play with each other. Like, it's not like we suck. It's like, bro, I just watched 2 series now. Now, obviously, one of them was against FaZe, who was the best team in the game.
So is Enable right that all things are not sunshine and rainbows in the OpTic camp? There were rumours, I don't know if this is true, I didn't see a clip of it, but apparently Karma came out on stream and said that what Enable's talking about is total rubbish, is nothing of the sort. Okay, obviously Karma isn't going to say that he's right, so I guess take it with a bit of a grain of salt. But still, what do you think, right? Enable, I mean, towards the end of his statement, when he said that he doesn't feel like those guys want to play with each other anymore. Now, I don't feel like that's an entire team thing. I mean, we literally just saw Pred and Shotzzy having a good time together, so I don't think there's any doubt that those two as a duo, and maybe this adds some fuel to the fire of the idea that Shotzzy was the one that decided to bring him back in, although Shotzzy came out in the Twitch chat a while ago and said that was not the case. Whatever. Enable's point is that the team, and I think at the end of the day, Shotzzy is the decision maker. If there was a sole decision maker, the warlord or whatever, who has the majority of the say, I would say that Shotzzy is kind of that man as it stands. And if he is not happy with the way that things are, maybe elsewhere outside of Pred, you can understand why there's going to be a discussion on it, right? So, and I think Shotzzy's vibe and demeanor has probably been the biggest difference that I've seen. Certainly from the start, even the start of the year, the player cams, the way that Shotzzy was talking about things, and then watching Shotzzy on the cameras this past weekend, it didn't seem like he was very happy with things. Obviously, you're not going to be happy when you're getting slammed. Does that mean that the team doesn't want to team together anymore? They literally just won the World Championship not that long ago. No, not necessarily. But when Enable feels like there's internal issues, and as I say, when Trey feels like there's internal issues, there's got to be some sort of vibe emanating from the camp which doesn't send the right message. Can OpTic turn it around? Absolutely they can. Look, this team, even after last year's Major Foreign Champs, it's very clear this team has an incredibly high ceiling as a quartet, and they have a particularly low floor compared to some of their other competitors. So it's not, maybe a massive surprise that they got 3-0 down by FaZe. The 3-0 loss to Rocker, the maps were close, but still, everything, the energy, the Kenny performance was not where it needed to be. So there's obviously going to be lots of discussion about it. Should they blow it up? In my opinion, no, but I think that's what Enable's getting at, really, is like, well, yeah, the team shouldn't make a change. It's not the thing to do to drop Kenny. But if the team doesn't want to play together anymore, if Shotzzy isn't happy about Kenny or isn't happy about the way that he's approaching the game or whatever the case is, because this is a different game to last title in the way that it should be played, maybe they've got different ideas in terms of the way they want to approach things. I don't know. But if something like that's going on, then it makes the change almost necessary if they can't resolve those difficulties, even if it's not necessarily the change that, they should make. And obviously with Lunas going to Los Angeles Guerrillas, we think, to Gentlemates, there was discussion, as I said, when Lunas was always going to go somewhere. People were like, oh, is it going to be OpTic? Are they actually doing this? Are they dropping Kenny for Lunas in a similar way that they brought Ghosty in, right? When they made the change for aBeZy back in Modern Warfare 2. And, okay, Ghosty was a different player in terms of like leadership and maturity maybe and comms and stuff than Lunas might be. But still, people thought they might do it again. Turns out that's not the case, at least for now. So very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.